In my entire playthrough of Bramble the Mountain King, I felt all in two ways. Either I felt like I was living in the most beautiful fairy tale and just enjoyed my life there, or like I was teleported in my worst nightmares. It's quite fascinating how the game juggles between them and makes it so seamless and also natural. The gameplay is similar to Little Nightmares. It makes you feel so tiny and everything else is extremely big. But when it comes to the story, the game takes a lot of inspiration from Nordic myths and folklore. A lot of the monsters and events are directly taken from there. Throughout the video I will make sure to sprinkle some of the real folklore where it's needed or I feel like it's more interesting. So let's just start right away. To have a better understanding about the world of the game and the events that are about to come, we should discuss first about the main antagonist of the story, which is the Mountain King himself, also known as King Nils. Long ago, King Nils ruled over a peaceful kingdom who lived in prosperity. He had expecting a child at some point. Sadly, his wife died after she gave birth, and the king remained only with his son. Losing his love made the king very upset, but he was able to ignore those feelings thanks to his son. One day his son falls ill. The doctor weren't able to cure him, but there was a solution. They told the king about a flower that the witches used for healing any illnesses. Desperately, the king started to search and interrogate every witch he could find, but none of them knew about the flower, so he grew very impatient and started to kill all the witches who didn't have the answer. But even after all of this, he was unable to find the flower. He eventually managed to find a witch outside his kingdom, and she was the one who had the flower. He begged her to give him a cure for his son, and she agreed. She gave him the flower and instructed the king to use only one single petal because the flower is deadly and dangerous. So the king does exactly that, and his son is finally cured. But because of the king's bloody campaign, some citizens decide to take revenge on him, so they stab his son with a knife. After this act, King Nils finally succumbed to the darkness he kept checked in his heart, and he used the entire flower which corrupted him, and he started to kill his entire kingdom using brambles. The flowers also made him grow quite large in size. The witch who gave him the flower wanted to visit them to see how his son was doing, but when she arrived she saw the nightmarish scene. To stop the Bramble and the king, she raised a mountain around him and his kingdom, and King Nils was shackled by his own Bramble, where he remained to this day, unable to move or die. The trolls were tasked to bring him food to keep him alive and continue his punishment, and thus he became the Mountain King. In the folklore, the Mountain King is not a human but a troll, also known as the Troll King, and this is why in the game the trolls are the ones who work for him. The Bramble still managed to escape from the mountain and spread to all villages and forests around the mountain, and this brings us to the story of Ole and Lillimor. Ole woke up one night and he saw his sister was missing, so he went outside to find her. In his search he stumbled upon a statue of Tuva holding a glowing stone. We will meet with her later. Ole takes the stone with him and continues to look after Lillimor. He finds her on the top of an old tower. They play a bit with the glowing stone and fall off from the tower. They seem to reach a strange forest where everything is much bigger. There they find a gnome village, where they stay for a bit, and after that they befriend the Toad King, which they met at the lake. When the night had come, the two brothers were separate again. When Ole spots his sister, he also spots a troll behind her who captured Lillimor. This is the troll who gathers food for the king, and it seems that Lillimor is on the menu. Ole manages to escape in the river, and his new friend the Toad King saves him from the currents and brings him to safety. Now Ole needs to find the troll and save his sister. He follows the troll deep in the forest where many traps are hidden. He falls into a pit and lands on a moose corpse, but if you look a bit closer, the moose has human hands. We can have a better look at this kind of creature later in the game. This either can be a shapeshifter or a creature who is half moose, half human. After that, Ole finds his way to the butcher kitchen, where he prepares the food for the other trolls. Ole manages to escape from the butcher, but then he encounters another troll with a lantern. The troll started to chase after Ole. Along the way, he befriends a stone giant with big eyes called Lemus. We can see similar creatures in the game, but they are not as friendly as Lemus. Right after that, Ole finds the glowing stone that he lost previously, but in the same time he was caught by the lantern troll. Ole is almost eaten, but the stone started to flash, and when Ole wakes up, the troll has turned into stone. In the folklore, when a troll enters in daylight, they are turned into stone, so it seems that the stone has the same power as sunlight. Ole continues his adventure and suddenly he hears a strange song and he cannot stop dancing. Soon after he meets with the source of the song, a creature called Necken. In the past, Necken was just a simple man who liked to play his violin, but the people in the village did not like him and bullied him except for one girl who Necken fell in love. One day he was beaten so hard that Necken's anger reached a boiling point. He played a cursed song that made everyone dance until they died, but the girl he loved was also affected and died. Necken was devastated and he leaves the town and lived by the lake where he still can be found, luring people with his music, and Ole is his next victim. Necken chases Ole into a river and catches him at a waterfall where they both fall. Necken died and Ole was gravely injured. He struggles to even walk, but luckily he noticed a little girl looking into the lake and he fell into her lap. This girl is Tuva. In the folklore, she is known as Princess Tuvstar. She traveled on the back of the moose and along the way she loses her clothes and her crown, and the only thing that she has left is her heart necklace received from her mother. At one point she sees a lake and she wanted to take a closer look, but in that time her necklace slips off in the water. The moose told her that it's pointless to search for the necklace, but she remained there to find it, and it said that she is still there to this day looking for her necklace, and this is how Ole finds her, gazing in the water. Tuva treats Ole's wounds and enhances his glowing stone, making it more powerful and being able to hurt the Bramble, so now he is able to go even deeper into the forest. Ole reaches an abandoned village and at the entrance he sees a scarecrow with an animal skull. This is a witch known in the folklore as Sher Hexa. She lives at the swamp where she performs dark rituals with the help of a midwife, another witch who wants to be reborn as a demonic being by making a sacrifice to drown her child, and in this way the Sher Hexa will gain more power from the dead children. While Ole explores the town, he encounters lots of dark souls. In the soundtrack of the game we can find the name of the track which plays in this section, and it's called Milingar. A Miling is the soul of a child killed by his mother, so we can guess that a lot of children were used as sacrifice. Ole also spots the midwife which prepares for the next ritual, and Ole starts to follow her to stop her. In his way he encounters again the Sher Hexa, but with the help of his new enhanced stone he is able to defeat it. After that he reaches a zone where something seems to lurk underwater. The song which plays here is called Waterwurmen. This is translated to water snake. In the folklore there is a being who looks like a giant snake with draconic features, but we cannot see it in the game, so it's not sure. Sadly, Ole was too late and he couldn't stop the midwife ritual, and both her and the child are dead. The midwife killed herself because it's required to die first in order to be reborn as a demon, but it seems more likely that she was tricked by the Sher Hexa. Ole decided to bury the child. In this way, it will prevent him from transforming into a Miling. Not too long after, Ole meets with a man with a lantern. In the folklore he is known as a spirit who wanders in the night, searching for someone or something. He helps Ole reach his next location. There he saw his sister who tells him to follow her. But at the end of the road, Ole finds out that he was tricked by the Skogsro, a powerful entity with a tail and antlers, and also with a hollow back with only her heart being visible. In the nights with full moon, she transforms into a very beautiful woman with dark hair to lure men from the nearby village. Lots of men started to disappear, so the villagers started to become desperate. They began killing all dark-haired women in the village, hoping to find the one responsible for this witchcraft. But all of this was in vain because they did not find her, and the men still disappeared, so the villagers started to burn down the forest. But this caused more problems because now they didn't have any resources. One night 5 brave men started to hunt for the woman, and they finally found her deep into the forest. When they were close enough, the Skogsrå showed her true form to them. She rips their chest open and hung them up in the trees to draw powers from their still beating hearts. Now Ole needs to destroy all of the men's bodies so he will stop the Skogsrå source of power. While they fight, the Skogsrå shows Ole an illusion about his sister dying. This enrages Ole and he turns the glowing stone into a sword. He continues to fight with the Skogsrå and he manages to stab her in the heart. But then he continues to stab her in the face continuously because of his anger. Ole regrets what he has done, but he continues to move forward. Meanwhile, it seems that he is followed by an old woman dressed in black with a rake. Ole reaches the fishing village, filled with some sort of zombies covered in bramble. This is a result of a plague spread by the old woman known as Pesta. In the folklore, Pesta is known as the personification of the Black Death, spreading it with her rake. Often people will want to traverse the lake, so Pesta will offer them a ride, where she will infect them and the person will further spread the plague in the village. In the game, she will also pass people's houses and infect all individuals who live there. The plague killed the victims very quickly, and soon after the dead will rise and kill the rest of the villagers until no one was left. After Ole managed to escape the village, he reaches a lighthouse and an eclipse started to happen. Ole takes a boat to cross the ocean to the mountain, but Pesta also appears on the boat and takes Ole to another dimension where she fights her. After 3 long battles, Ole defeats her and finally reaches the mountain. Before he finds the king, he enters an old room that appears to belong to the son of the king. Ole borrows some clothes from there and continues to advance through the forge where multiple trolls are, and then he reaches the throne room, where the source of the Bramble and the mountain king himself can be found. At the same time, the troll with the sack enters the throne room and feeds the Mountain King with Lillimore while Ole is watching. But the Mountain King is still hungry, and because of the bramble he is unable to recognize friends from foe, so he also eats the troll and now he is after Ole. The soundtrack in this section is a remix version of the song The Hall of the Mountain King, a song that I'm more than sure you have heard it before. At first the king tries to kill Ole with a knife and a fork, but then he starts to attack with his rusted sword and his scepter. After Ole clears enough of the bramble flowers, the king started to see clear for the first time in centuries, and he saw his son in Ole, so he decided to put an end of all of this, so he reveals the flower hidden under his desk. And he stabs it exactly in the middle, and the flower is finally destroyed and the bramble is gone. But with it, the powers of the king also disappears. Ole rushes to climb the king, and before the king falls, he throws the stone into his mouth, and both of them fall and die. Lillimore used the stone to make a sword, and she cuts an opening into the king's body, and she is free. Lillimore saw his brother's dead body, but luckily Tuva uses her magic and the stone enters Ole's body and revives him. Because the king is now dead, the mountain has no purpose, so it started to crumble. Lemus appears and saves them from the falling rocks. Now Lillimore and Ole return home and live happily together, no longer fearing the forest because they have each other. And this brings us to the end. For a game this short, is very packed with interesting stories and creatures, a very fine ride that needs to be experienced. Hope you enjoyed the video and thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.